Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the RDX Sports Podcast. My name is Simon Head. Bit of a different show for you this week. UFC 305 is coming to us from Perth, Australia. They're on a completely different time zone to us. All of their media stuff is happening at a very strange time of the day for us. And as a result, getting a hold of some of the media recordings and stuff like that has been a little bit trickier than usual this week. However, we do have the men that matter at the top of the UFC 305 fight card for you here on this week's edition of the show as they chat to the media from Media Day down there in Perth, Australia. And I thought the best way for us to build up to Fight Night in Australia is to hear from the men themselves. Let's quickly run down the fight card before we do that. Main event, Dricus Du Plessis, UFC middleweight champion of the world, taking on former two-time champion Israel Adesanya. There's some real bad blood in this one, and it will all come to a head in the main event on Saturday night with the UFC undisputed 185-pound belt on the line. Co-main event at flyweight, Kai Kara France, Kiwi flyweight contender who's coming into this fight on a two-fight skid, taking on Astro Boy Steve Erceg, the Australian fighting on home soil, looking to bounce back after performing well, but losing out to Alexandra Pantoja in that somewhat unexpected title shot that he received earlier in the year. Some big fights further down the card as well. Poland's Mateusz Gamrot, who is one of the most solid competitors in that 155-pound division, 24-2, outstanding record. He takes on Kiwi Dan Hooker, always entertaining, always brings the action. That should be a real clash of styles and an important fight in that flyweight division. And we've got the big boys on the fight card. Tai Tuivasa, 14-7, knockout artist, 13 out of 14 wins by KO, taking on Jairzinho Biggie Boy Rosenstruik, 14-5, 13 of his 14 wins also by knockout. Somehow, I don't see that one going the distance. It should be an absolute banger for as long as it lasts. And the card opener will be the return of the Leech, Li Jingliang from China, fan favourite, cult hero amongst the long-time UFC fans, taking on one of the most unsung stars on this card, Carlos Prates, who comes into this fight on a 9-fight win streak, and he is an absolute finishing machine at 170 pounds. That's got fight of the night credentials all over it. That should be an absolute banger. Some good stuff further down the card. We've got Casey O'Neill, Australian-based Scot, on the card against Luana Santos. Jack Jenkins, who I actually did a piece on for UFC.com this week. He's taking on Herbert Burns. He's fighting on home soil. He actually dislocated his elbow last time out against Chepe Mariscal, and that completely sort of derailed his momentum. He was on a bit of a tear at that point. But he said to go away, rehab his elbow, says he's back to 100% and he's good to go this weekend against Herbert the Flash Burns. That should be a good one. Tom Nolan will be one worth watching at 155 pounds. He is also set for action against Alex Reyes. So loads of good stuff on this fight card coming to you from Perth, Australia. But let's get into the weeds with this. Let's really dig deep and speak to the fighters who are set to compete at the top of the card. I've got 4 interviews lined up for you. We've got Dricus Du Plessis, we've got Israel Adesanya, and then after that, I've brought you Kai Kara France and Steve Erceg, the 2 big fights at the top of this fight card. So let's run through them. Let's hear from the champ first, Dricus Du Plessis.
You know, a lot of the talk about this fight's been, it's personal this, it's personal that. But when we've seen you and Izzy at the press conference before, it was kind of well-mannered. And I think even on this fight week, it's not like we've heard terrible insults thrown at each other. As you get close to the fight, how are you feeling personally about the contest?
Yeah, I mean, I think I know it's definitely personal for him because he took a lot of offense in what I said for speaking the truth, and he didn't like it. So it was never personal because there's nothing to be personal about. For me, I stated facts. I said what I said. It's 100% the fact. And he took it very personal. So, yeah, he's angry. I don't care. And, I mean, that's it. At the end of the day, I'm here. I'm here for my business. My business is winning. Not defending about winning this fight.
When you look at this fight, ignore all the other stuff outside of it, do you think this is almost a contest between two puzzles, right? He was considered this big puzzle that was hard to figure out with his feints and his movement, and now you've come in here and it seems like a lot of people can't even figure out what you're doing to be successful, but you are being successful. Do you see this as a clash between two men who can confuse most of the division, and it's up to the other guy to figure them out?
Yeah, I think especially at this level of the sport, that is what you get. I think that is at this level, when you're fighting at the top champion and contender, you get everybody's fit, strong, good enough striking, good enough wrestling, good enough under grappling. Everybody has aspects. Some a little better, let's say better in grappling, some are better in striking, but everybody's good everywhere. It's about who shows up on the night with the plan, and if that plan is changing, who can, like you say, figure it out. So you can look at it as two puzzles, or you can look at it as two great fighters, and we're going to find out who came with the best armor.
You're obviously going to prepare for the toughest guy you could possibly face, right? But there are questions about Israel after that performance against Sean. In your gut instinct and in your heart of hearts, do you think that was an off night for him, or do you think that was potentially the beginning of a new Israel that we're going to start seeing?
I'll be honest, I've said it many times in previous interviews where I said I think it was an off night. It was very evident in terms of how he fought. Just the whole fight, you could see it. But then I fought Strickland, and my whole perception around that fight changed. Because now I firsthand experienced what it's like to fight Sean Strickland. He's hard to hit. And with Izzy, he doesn't throw volume. He throws strikes that, he's pinpoint accurate with his strikes, or at least he tries to be. He's more of a move, hit. And when he fought Strickland, he missed all those shots. Strickland is really, really good defensively. And that was, when I fought Strickland, I immediately realized that's what happened. I threw volume so I could catch him and I could beat him. But Israel doesn't throw the volume, so every time he threw, he missed the shot. He missed the shots. He had 2, 3 maximum, and he would miss. So originally I thought that Israel had an off night, and then after fighting Strickland and going to watch that fight again, I actually think it was just Strickland that did what he does extremely well, and that style didn't suit Israel at all.
Yeah. It sounds like, according to Dana White, Strickland's going to be next for whoever comes out this weekend. Is that a fight that interests you, or are you one of these guys who are like we hear Islam Makhachev, right? Like, I don't want rematches. I want fresh puzzles all the time. Are you okay with Sean Strickland, or do you think, hey, that Whittaker-Hamzat fight makes more sense to me? How are you feeling about a rematch with Strickland?
Well, the Whittaker-Hamzat fight, I honestly thought, and I actually said as well, I thought that was going to be it but I honestly don't care. I'm here to beat whoever. The fight that people want to see. That's why this fight is so great for me, that we're fighting Israel Adesanya. Because the most people in the fight world wants to see myself versus Israel Adesanya. That's the fight that people want to see, and that is at the end of the day what we do. We entertain. We entertain the people, we entertain the crowd, and we entertain the people that buys the tickets, buys the pay-per-views, because that's why they do it. They want to be entertained. So for me, I don't mind fighting either one of those two, Strickland, Hamzat, or Whittaker. But all three of those fighters have the pros and cons. Actually, fighting Strickland, a lot of people want to see it, but it's a rematch. But if that's the decision of the UFC, great, let's go for it. Fighting Hamzat, he's never been beaten. It's going to be a massive fight, just in terms of numbers. Great, let's do it. Fighting Whittaker, the all-time legend, Robert Whittaker, but it's a rematch. So there's pros and cons in fighting any of these three guys. For me, the most important part is fighting the best next guy.
Dricus, on the countdown, I think you used something. They were talking about your fight against Whittaker. You credited your coach for finding holes, and you said there just weren't that many holes in Robert Whittaker's games, and he found them. When you guys are breaking down Israel, are you guys finding holes that you can exploit, or is Israel kind of, just a kind of well-refined fighter in there?
No, listen, even with Robert Whittaker, when I said finding holes, we didn't find any holes. We just found a place where holes could be made. So that's what I was referring to, in that at this level, you don't see the holes, these clear holes in people's games. You just don't see it because that's why we're at the top of the game. You do see places where they get uncomfortable. They don't necessarily make the mistakes, but there is place to force them to make mistakes. And that's what I feel we did with the Whittaker fight, and that's what we're going to do in this fight. We don't see mistakes and say, oh, that's where we're going to catch him. No, we see places where they get uncomfortable, and you force that mistake.
Well, kind of going off of that, it showed Israel's reaction when you switched to southpaw. Like, he stood up and he was like, oh, he's southpaw now, and he was kind of watching you a lot more. Do you have plans like that? I'm sure you can't give us your game plan, but do you guys have a specific tailored plan for Israel, or are you just kind of focusing on yourself in there?
No, the thing is with Israel, he fights switch stances either way anyway. So, like myself, I fight both ways. With the Whittaker fight, we just, he doesn't switch really. He doesn't switch, so that's why we did that. But, I fight switch all the time, and Israel as well. So it doesn't make sense to say, okay, cool, I'm only going to fight this or that. No, it's definitely not, very specifically for Whittaker, that was the game plan. And for this fight, we had to do something else. So like I said, I can fight both ways, but in a fight where a guy switches the whole time, it doesn't make sense to do something like that.
What's with the taser in fight camp?
Well, I mean, you don't just become world champion.
So that's been a thing that's been happening for a while, or because some people thought it was
everybody thought it was something that's new for this camp. Not at all. It's probably been part of the team for 2.5+ years, 100%. But no, we never filmed it. I don't know why. I can see now probably why. The rest of the world might seem crazy, but I mean, we used to be coach used to leg kick us, and he has a very strong leg kick. If you make the mistakes continuously after he's warned you a couple of times, but that takes you out of training, not out of training, but it makes training difficult for a couple of days because he has a very hard low kick. So the taser is much better than that because the taser hurts a lot more in the moment, but it's over quickly.
So when he introduced that to camp, did he tell you that was happening, or did he just show up with a taser one day?
Well, I can't remember the exact moment it happened, but when he came to the gym, he's like, okay, I got this. I just went, okay, great. This is it now. And everybody thought, like, people were laughing like, no. And I said, guys, might as well stop it. I've known Coach for 12 years. The idea's been set. We are getting tased from now on. Might as well get used to the idea. In fact, we've upgraded the taser now because we grew used to the old one. And he almost figured out it doesn't have the effect. Sure. And he actually tased himself. He's like, okay, this sucks, but it's not that bad. Get me a stronger one. And that's why we have the big one now. It's a proper one.
So last thing on the taser, like, what is it? Just like when your hand's out of place, he'll just like zap you? Or is like,
No. No, it's not like that. He doesn't walk around just zapping people. He warns you. It's not just a quick tase. It's about it's a, let's call it the South African sticky note. He tells you, Dricus, your hand, it's not high enough. You're not covering your face. And even though I might feel my hands covering my face, it's just too low. Or he'll say your foot's not in the right spot. You need to do that. Your base is not right. You're too far leaning back. Whatever. Chin's in the air. Whatever it may be. And he'll warn you, and he'll warn you again. And on the third time, he's like, okay, I've warned you twice about this. On your stomach. And you just lie down, tase right under the foot. There you go.
Fair enough.
And he asks you, he goes, or he doesn't say anything, and he goes, stop. If you can tell me what you did wrong, I won't tase you. What did you do wrong? And I'll be like, my hands went up. He says, nope. And then he'll tase you, and he'll tell you what you did wrong. So, I mean, it's a great reminder.
Sure. Fair enough. There was a report that came out that a couple rugby stars are going to walk you out. When did you find that out, and what does it mean to you to have them walk you out to your title fight?
Yeah, I mean, the Springboks, our national team, 4-time world champions, back-to-back world champions, are playing up the stadium Saturday. They are heroes. They are the mighty Springboks. And they are playing at Optus Stadium this weekend, Saturday. and the team is coming to watch my fight on Sunday. The whole national team. I mean, that's my heroes, and the whole country's heroes coming to watch me perform. It's a massive, massive privilege, and I immediately, when we started this, I mean, weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago, I said, is there any chance we can make this happen? We started getting after it, and thank you to the UFC for making this possible.
Historically, when you see a fighter from a nation become a champion, there's a massive explosion. We're seeing that with Ilya in Spain when Brandon Moreno won from Mexico. So how has MMA kind of exploded since you won the title in January?
Oh, wow. It's incredible to see just MMA gyms all over the country exploding and getting better. Just seeing the quality of the local scene in the UFC, where I started my career, an amazing, amazing platform of producing local talent and international talent in Africa. And just seeing the quality of competition there and seeing the quality of fighters that's being delivered, and also seeing, not just in the local promotion, seeing fighters from South Africa that has all this talent but never been taken seriously by the rest of the world. I'm talking about your UAE Warriors, Brave, what's another league where they fight? I mean, Bellator, PFL, those kind of things, those kind of organizations. And now they start looking at Risen as well, start looking at the South African fighters going, well, they have a UFC world champion. There has to be something there. Now the fighters all over South Africa and Africa are getting much more attention from all these almost feeding ground MMA promotions. And that's amazing because people get the opportunity to do this for a living full time, getting money where they can support a family and support that dream that they have to make it to the UFC and become a champion of the world, because it's been done. So to see that, I mean, we just had the first Olympic wrestler from South Africa in the Olympics, I think, I stand corrected, from 1948. It's the first time. And he fought for a bronze medal. And he didn't win it, but I mean, still, it's a massive achievement. So just seeing martial arts of any sort, just seeing the small wrestling school, karate school, boxing gyms, all of that just growing because kids look at it and they want to do it because now they can become a world champion. It's incredible to see, and the support's been amazing.
And the last one for me, unrelated to your fight, but November 1st, they're going to introduce some new rule changes. They're going to allow 12 to 6 elbows, and they're going to change the definition of grounded opponents. I'm curious, did you hear about these rules, and do you think it has been a long time coming?
Yeah, the 12 to 6 elbows doesn't really matter to me. I mean, throwing an elbow like this and throwing an elbow like this is exactly the same thing to me, so I don't really care about that one, but the grounded opponent one is pretty cool. That's a pretty cool rule. I think we're going to see some sick knockouts with that one.
Dricus, in terms of the role model you are in South Africa and for African MMA, what would it mean to you to take that belt back again, to defend your title, and the knock-on effect that it will have in terms of bringing the UFC finally to South Africa? I know Dana White has said, should you get past Israel, that will happen. How important is it to you, and are you feeling a little bit of extra pressure because you have the hopes of a nation on your shoulders?
Well, I'm getting past Israel, and 100% the fact that Dana said that. I know he said it before, that, you know, if South Africa wins a world title, we're going there. But, you know, it's hard. I know that for a fact. I know there's a lot of things that needs to fall into place. We have the Minister of Sports from South Africa coming to watch the fight, coming to make sure we have we do whatever needs to be done to get that fight, get the UFC in South Africa and in Africa for the first time. A massive, massive goal I've had for many years, thinking I want to bring the UFC to Africa and South Africa. And that's amazing. I mean, if that is another massive goal in my life ticked, another one that I set, and I can say I went and I did that. But, you know, for me, I'm not going out there to defend my title. I'm going out there, in my mind, when I get home, I'm going to fetch that belt. I said it before. You know, when I walk out to that octagon, the belt is vacant. And I'm fighting for that title. And the same guy that was willing to die to win that belt is willing to die once again and kill to get that belt.
So this is more than just about the belt, isn't it? It's about legacy and what you've done for MMA in South Africa. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's been such a big part of what of what this has been about, my whole career, is so much bigger than myself. Of course, the belt, because the belt resembles all of that. The belt resembles the fact that South Africa is being considered to host the first UFC, that Africa is being considered to host the first UFC. And, for myself, the work over all these years, this belt represents. So it's not all of those things. The belt is what, all of those things are under the belt. The belt is what represents all of those amazing things that are so much bigger than myself, representing my flag, my country, on the biggest stage in the world.
Dricus, just over here, man, a couple of quick ones. I know you'd mentioned that you got a couple of rematches potentially in the works, but with this feud with Israel, do you believe this is the beginning of potentially a few fights? Obviously, Izzy fought Rob a few times. You might potentially fight Sean and Rob a second time. Do you think this is the first of a few fights and really actually maybe the beginning of a feud?
With Izzy?
With Izzy, yeah.
Probably not. No. I don't think so, to be honest.
Well, what makes you think that there's no more fights down the line, just the way that this fight
No,
goes?
no, I'm not saying definitely. I just saying no, I haven't thought about it.
Okay. The stare down you guys had in that first presser in Perth was pretty intense, and I saw you were doing an interview. You said that when you do your stare downs, you like to let the other person know with your energy that you're there and you're not taking a step back. So I guess following up from that at the press conference, what are you expecting at that stare down and then potentially at the weigh-ins? Are you imagining it's going to keep progressing as you guys go on and on?
Yeah, I don't know about the weigh-ins, all of that. I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking that will happen the way it happens in the moment, and I'll be reacting accordingly. But I think that stare down was a very, very good indication of what to expect when the fight comes. And yeah, I meant what I said with the energy, feeling that energy, and you can without physically touching somebody, you can make them feel your dominance in terms of who is the alpha. And that's exactly what happened in that stare down. And that's exactly what will happen on fight night.
Just last one from me. I saw Darren Till had some advice for Izzy for the fight. Your reaction to that, and did you get a chance to see what he was saying?
I mean, the man got taken down by a boxer. Maybe maybe try and, practice what you preach, man. The man couldn't stop a single takedown. The man said he won 2 rounds. He didn't win 2 rounds. He's crazy. I finished him, outstruck him, took him down, finished him in the 3rd round. He says he won the 1st round. I outstruck him 61 strikes to 0. And there was 20 seconds left. That's crazy stats. Yeah, he got me in that 2nd round until I got to take. I don't even know why we started discussing this. I mean, the man's in a downward spiral, and hopefully this coaching gig works out for him. But what I saw in terms of how easy it would be to beat me, why didn't he do it? So easy to see. Why didn't he do it?
Dricus, just over here. If you win this fight, you'll have beaten 3 of the past 4 middleweight champions, the exception being Alex Pereira, who's obviously in a different weight class now. Where do you think this puts you in the hierarchy of all-time middleweights, even though you're just starting your reign here?
Yeah, I mean, if you put it like that, it puts me pretty high, but that's not how I see it. I have a lot of work to do to be considered the greatest, or even close to that conversation. So, for me, this is, like I said, the beginning, and that's how I'll treat it.
Dricus right here, bro. Over here.
Yeah.
What's up, bro? I know they say it kind of takes a team to get you to where you're elevated at. Correct me if I'm wrong. You got a guy on your team by the name of ATN who's survived a stroke, a ruptured spleen, and a gunshot to the head.
Yeah, that is correct. The man is my corner, one of my best friends. Etienne is a legend in South African rugby. Played professional rugby and all over the world. And exactly like you said, the man has had multiple strokes, got shot in the head, had crazy story. He has a book out, Euro in South Africa. And just to have people with that kind of mindset, and I actually trained with the man. Have trained with him for many years, and he moved to America now, but he's been there for every single fight. And it's going to be great to have him in the corner, just to have that. You think to win a fight is motivation. Look at that, man. Look at that. That's only motivating to have somebody like that around you that appreciates life for what it is, and that's been that close to death that many times. And just shows appreciation and love for everything around him. And it's amazing to have someone like that in your circle, because they have such a big perception of what life is really about, and you can learn so much from them.
Dricus, just over here. When I spoke to you back in June, you mentioned that the confidence level within your teammates since becoming champion has increased dramatically, and it's given them the hope that they can become champion too, like yourself. I guess, what has this camp been like, going from a challenger to now the defending champion and alongside your teammates?
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you this. With my teammates now sparring, grappling, wrestling, striking against the champion of the world, it gave them the kind of thought. Firstly, it made me go, not only am I now I've always tried to outwork everybody. And I always feel, I'm working harder than everybody. And once I became champion, I made sure, and I said, I can't only think I'm working harder than everybody. I am the example of what it means to be a world champion to each and every person that sees me, that has this dream or any dream. The only thing I can do is lead by example. And I made sure that I outwork everybody twofold. And that's been the case since becoming champion for me. And everybody stepped up their game because they're looking at me, and I know that. I know they're watching because the blueprint's been there. The blueprint has been, it's been done. And they're trying to catch up, and I won't let them. And that's what makes a great team. And obviously, like I said, when they're striking, grappling, or sparring, whatever, they go, this is the world champ. If I can take him down, that means I'm taking down the world champ. Where do I rank in the UFC? The best in the world. If I can catch the champ with big combinations, where does that put me in the UFC? Fighting pure wrestlers coming in, pure grapplers, pure strikers coming into the gym we got for camp. All of them go, well, I know he's not a pure striker, but he's still the world champ. So if I can beat on him, that's a feather in my cap, and I won't let that happen. So immediately I had to level up because everybody that went against me leveled up. And that was incredible. And I mean, as I get better, my team gets better, we all get better, and every fight we will be better, and I can't wait to prove that.
And just one more quick one. You've had some time now enough time to spend in Australia, I guess. What are your thoughts of Australia? I know you've spent some time with Jackson and Clayton, those sort of guys, making some funny skits. So I guess, what is your thoughts of Australia been so far? Yeah,
myself and Jackson have been mates for quite some time. He was at my fight in Toronto as well. And then he said he's going to visit South Africa for maybe a week, maybe 10 days, and he stayed for 2 months. He lived with my friend. We basically saw each other every day then. He just loved South Africa, so coming to his backyard is great. I was here 5 weeks ago when we made that skit with for the presser, and he's here right now. He came to watch the fight. Obviously, we'll have a great time afterwards. But I'm loving Australia. I always talk about the culture in places. That's the biggest difference. Anywhere you travel, the things that I find funny in another country might not be as funny, and actually might even be offensive, and the other way around. But when I came to Australia, that was the one thing: the people, the culture. If you look at guys like Jackson and how we get along, and the humor that the Australian fans and people share with I think it's very, very similar, very, very similar to South Africa. And that's why there's such a big South African community that can climatize in Australia. And that's why so many of them have immigrated to Australia. So, yeah, I've been loving it. I think up until this point, Australia has been probably one of my favorite places I've ever been to. It's my first time in Australia, but I've been loving it. The weather is great. The food is amazing. I can't wait to really enjoy the food. But, it's been great. The quality of meat, which is a big, big thing for me, the quality of meat. And then, of course, the quality of beer, which I will find out exactly after the fight.
Just one more. Are you going to go to the Springboks and Wallabies game on Saturday night?
I wish I could. It's just too late. I mean, I have to wake up very early. The fight's happening. Get my sleep, and of course focus on replenishing. We know with in Australia we only get 24 hours to rehydrate. and recover after a weigh-in. So it's a big time difference. 12 hours less. It's a massive difference. So focus will be on that. But I'll be watching the game, cheering the boys like I always am. And I know they're going to do great. I'll be in my room and watching that. And at that stage where I'm at, there's only one thing on my mind. That's that fight.
Dricus, over here to your right. Over here. When you were a challenger and you were coming up through the ranks, you were consistently winning, but it felt like you were never getting the respect. It felt like every fight was a little bit... The fans were like, oh, this one, he'll lose. And then it kind of kept going. I know you don't fight for the internet. You don't fight for their respect. But a victory over Adesanya, who was such a long-reigning champion, do you think that stomps out any disrespect?
Don't really know. Don't really care. For me, what I care about is winning this fight. This fight is not any bigger to me than any other fight. Every single fight I fight, whether it was my debut, whether it's now, when I step in there, it's the most important fight. And in my mind, the last fight I will ever fight in my life. I'm going out there to win or die trying. Every single fight. So who I fight and what the internet thinks about it, that's got nothing to do with me. What's this? This is all the proof that I need. I don't need some internet troll or some couch potato to tell me whether I'm good or not. This tells me how great I am.
Hey, Dricus, you mentioned how you've been having a great time in Perth. You got here early. A lot of your training camp has been done at Kick-Ass MMA. Has Stephen Kennedy and the boys been treating you well there?
Yeah, they've been treating me extremely well. I mean, I've been here for 2 weeks. But the gym is an amazing facility. Everybody's been super, super helpful and nice. Me and my team came in early, 17 days before the fight. And, we've been training there and preparing for the fight, preparing for the last 2 weeks. At Kick-Ass, it was, the boys been great. I mean, the whole team they've been very accommodating, gave us everything we needed. Amazing facility.
We spoke this week as well because, as has already been touched on, a massive weekend for South African sport. It happens in Perth, Western Australia. It's going to be very tough for you on the Saturday night. You just obviously completed the weigh and you're relaxing for your fight, but you're going to be able to hear the crowd at Optus Stadium while your Springboks are playing. You're going to be tempted to sort of walk across to take a sneak peek into the game?
Absolutely. I have an amazing room with a balcony. I can tell you this much. I'm going to be watching the game. I'll turn the TV, do what I have to, but I'm going to sit outside on the balcony and watch the TV and hear the crowd cheering. It's going to feel like I'm right there.
You know, people, we can get your tickets, you know.
Oh, geez, stop it. Stop it. I'm going to have to say yes if you keep on.
All the best.
Dricus, just a really quick one here, man. I wanted to touch on your relationship with Eugene Berriman. Maybe not relationship, but obviously, we spoke with him yesterday, and he spoke about how he was in that training room when, you guys were sparring and stuff like that. I think you guys might have done some rounds together, and obviously, you guys had
No, me and Eugene didn't do it. My brother and Eugene did some rounds together.
Right, okay. He had a lot of nice things to say about you guys, which is quite contrasting. Obviously, there's you and Israel, but then you and the team seem to have, really good feelings towards each other. I just wanted to see if you could touch on sort of your relationship with Eugene and sort of seeing him just before in the hotel as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I have the world's respect for Eugene. Coach Eugene the man is obviously brilliant. Look at the pedigree of fighters he's coached. I have all the respect in the world. And myself and Israel's feud has nothing to do with my relationship with them. And I think that goes to show on what you call maturity and emotional intelligence. Just because I don't like Israel Adesanya doesn't mean I don't. When we're in a group of friends, I can like everybody, but sometimes there's one guy you just don't like. It's fine. Just ignore them. It's okay. I like Volk. He's one of my all-time favorite fighters. I actually went up to him and told him what a badass I think he is. This is a long time ago, maybe, months ago, when I met him at the PI. I trained with Volk 10 years ago. I trained before anyone on that team and myself was even close to the UFC. I trained with Volk, Dan Hangman, who is one of the most savage fighters, in my opinion, one of the toughest, baddest dudes on the planet. And even Kai Kara, France, he was training there too. We've known each other for a long time. We had drinks back then. We were friends, and we always have been. So the fact that myself and Israel doesn't like each other doesn't change the fact that I have mad respect for their whole team and, well, those that I know, and I think they're great people. It's just the fact that we don't like each other doesn't mean anything about how I feel about any of the others.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Dricus Du Plessis there. Very, very proud to be a South African role model, a South African athlete, and a fellow global superstar in the sporting world alongside his beloved Springboks, who are going to be there on Saturday night to watch him fight. That's going to be pretty special. So looking forward to seeing rows and rows of big, strong guys, possibly all wearing Springbok kit on fight night at the RAC Arena. The man he's going to be facing, of course, Israel Adesanya. This is not his first rodeo. He has had more title fights almost than any other active UFC fighter on the roster. And he's looking to become a 3-time undisputed UFC middleweight champion of the world. And there was a sort of a quiet calmness, a quiet confidence, but there's certainly a steely-eyed focus and determination about Israel Adesanya going into this one, as I think you'll probably tell from his responses in his media day session. Let's listen to him now.
Obviously, you've been kind of targeting this fight with Dricus for a while, even when you were a champion. So I guess now that you're only a few days away from actually getting to fight him, I guess, how was camp? What are the emotions this fight week? And yeah.
Camp was awesome. It was refreshing. It was one of the best ones, if not the best one yet. And the emotions this fight week, it's calm.
What in fight camp specifically, if you could say, made this one of the best ones?
Just we reshuffled the deck. We changed the way we just pretty much kept what was useful and discarded what was useless for us. And we upgraded the program itself and had a preseason, had training blocks, not just going hard all the time, and then getting injured and stuff.
Was that a conversation you had with your camp, or did you approach them and say we got to get rid of some stuff?
I think they saw, the schedule that I was on and some of the other fighters in our gym. I had 5 fights in 16 months as a champion. And again, it's not just the fight itself, it's the work we have to do to get ready for the fight. So they saw the detriment that was doing to me and some of the other fighters. So it was good to refresh everything.
And obviously, I feel like you're a big energy guy. Like you kind of feel energy from people. Have you run into him at all in the hotel? And what energy are you getting from him?
Not really him, but I saw his coach and his brother, and they're cool.
You said, I don't care about belts, I'm coming for heads. And I think you said you wanted to show off yourself in this octagon. So I guess, how do you view success fighting Dricus? Is it beating him? Is it beating him spectacularly? Is it just putting on like a fight that fans are enjoying? How do you view success against him?
Success against him will be all 3.
Did you see the footage of his coach using a taser in fight camp when people were out of position and grappling stuff? He would like tase their feet and stuff.
Yeah, Eugene uses knives. He always has a knife on him. Is he here? No, he's not. If he does, he'll have a knife on him. So I've had knives pointed at me before. It's not this camp though. I was good. I was good this camp.
And I saw on your Twitter you posted some photos of yourself, but then you also posted like an audio of someone like reading about anger. It was like them talking about like.
That was just a post. It was just.
So nothing to look into in that one?
Nah, you guys don't look too much into things. Sometimes I just post shit because it sounds cool.
Just 2 more from me. They announced Francis is making his return to MMA. So I guess a lot of people view him as like kind of the face of African MMA, just from the UFC to the PFL. So I guess what's the response from his return that maybe you felt in Africa?
I'm happy for him. I'm happy for what he's doing. He just went through something that I would never wish on anyone. And, we've talked, I've checked up on him. And again, I respect Francis so much. He's an integral part of what we've done in the UFC. Right now I know there's competition between other promotions and the UFC and battles. But again, you can never erase history because the streets, the internet will always remember no matter what. And I think they'll fix this eventually, but it's just a lot of chest puffing. But I think hopefully the UFC are smart people. They'll understand and they'll rectify this eventually.
Are you referring to that video clip that came out? That
not just that, just everything. Like, just you can't erase Francis's legacy in the UFC. It's part of what we've done. It's forever in history, in stone. So trying to whitewash it or just not talk about it is silly. And I know he's fighting for, the PFL right now, but it's still history. You can't just turn a blind eye to it. So again, I'm sure they'll fix it eventually. This is how business goes with the UFC. And yeah.
The last one for me, unrelated to this fight, but November 1st, they're going to start implementing these new rule changes with the
12 to 6 elbow. Yeah, finally, Jesus Christ!
They've also redefined the grounded opponent, so you need more than just your hands. So I can hear you're happy with these changes.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's about time that, but then also we got the judging as well has to change. Not for me, but for us as fighters. I don't do win bonuses, so I'm all right. But for some of these other guys who have win bonuses and they get their win bonuses taken away, and that could be half their purse, could be 10,000, 20, 25,000 away from them because the judge decided, you weren't moving forward enough, even though they were blasting the other guy in the face with kicks and punches, it's good for the game, and I think these things should happen quicker.
Israel, we're talking about legacy a lot in this sport, and it's the reason why a lot of people do it. When you see what's happening with Francis and stuff, is it a concern that the turnover of fans in this sport is so high-paced that legacies like his can be forgotten if the promotion itself doesn't celebrate them as often as they can?
It can be, but also, again, we're in the age of the internet, so I don't think it's going to be forgotten as easily as they try. But, also myself, look, my last fight was atrocious for myself. I was not happy with that fight. And, the fans, the media, you're only as good as your last fight. They keep all these sometimes these sayings that don't make sense anymore. You're only as good as your last fight. I don't get it, but at the same time, I'm like, okay. But, so for me, even this weekend, I kind of want to do what I have to do. And when I do it, and then people are going to be like, fuck, how did we not see this coming? How did we underestimate that he was going to do this? Amazing. So, it's just time to remind people.
You took this time off. We good?
Classic.
Good. We took this time off. How long do you think you've added to your own career by just forcing yourself to take this break?
I don't know, but I've raised the level of athlete that I am by taking this break, by doing the right things to let my body heal and heal my body, and even just remove myself from the game completely for, 3 months or whatever it was. But I don't know how much I've added, but I know definitely I've raised the level of fighter that I am.
Is part of that the motivation, right? Not just to beat Dricus, not just to show that you're still the top level, but the narrative in this sport, sometimes it's like, once they start losing, they just lose and lose and lose and then they're done. Are you excited to come back and be like, no, that doesn't happen to every elite fighter?
They said that after New York when I fought Alex Pereira, they were like, oh, nah, he's done. He should pack it up. They always say some dumb shit like that. But a lot of these fans, they're not, they've never done what we've done. So, I don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. I know what I can do. My team knows what I can do. And it's just time to show people what I can do.
Israel, over here. Just a lot has been made as obviously like you taking the time off and making a lot of changes in your life. Of all those changes, which ones would you say was like the hardest to make and probably required the most honesty from yourself with your own self?
Breakfast. No.
Breakfast?
No. There's a few. A tedious one was probably not really hard, but like the little things like the ice baths and using the hyper ice machine, because it's just, I'm tired. I've fucking just done VO2 max workout. I get home, I gotta put this fucking moon boot on all the way up to my groin and then sit there. So these little things, and once you do them, you're fine. Every time I'm about to hop in a cold plunge, my mind always tries to say no, because that's self-preservation, but I just override that, and it calcifies your mind. You get used to saying no to your urges of relief or whatever, and then you learn how to go through the fire or ice.
You mentioned before that the vibe is calm this week? Why is that calm? I think also because a lot of people expected, like, man, it's going to be a crazy, fiery build-up. Where's that calmness coming from?
Experience. A lot has happened in the last 11 months. I've had to go through some life shit myself. My life really, my personal life really is, like social media or shit like that all the time. So for me, I had to go through a lot of life stuff and a lot of soul searching and a lot of, what do I want from this game? What do I want from life? Where do I see myself? All that kind of question. What do I want my legacy to be? All these questions I had to ask myself and have an honest talk to myself. And yeah, eventually I just knew when I came back, I wanted to be like reinvented. I wanted to be a different, what did Kobe say? Same animal, but a different beast. Yeah.
Israel.
Oh, sorry, not done yet.
Oh, yeah.
Almost done. I was going to say, that face-off that you and Dricus had, it went for ages, but it was such a calm presser, and then the energy changed. What was it that made the energy change so abruptly?
So for me, I just I don't know what to expect, but he tried to pufferfish me, and then he realized pretty quickly I'm not the one you can try and just blow smoke at. And yeah, he felt my energy, and he understands. He knows who he's dealing with now. That moment right there let him know. He got to look into my eyes and see who I am. Yeah, I don't know what brought it on, but it's just deja vu. I've been here before. I've battled with the best. Like, no one can intimidate me. No one can intimidate me, and he definitely won't do that.
Something that you've been saying a lot is, like, you want to show him who he is. Take us into that. What exactly does that mean? Who is he?
You'll find out.
All right.
This guy, he's been waiting.
Israel, what are you expecting from Dricus on fight night? And what do you make of being, the odds-on favorite for this one? And Dricus, the champ, is the underdog.
I don't know. I didn't really know I was the favorite. What do I expect from Dricus? I just expect him to bring his best. He says he feels amazing, so I'm like, good. That's what I want.
Israel, just to your left. You're obviously one of the most active champions throughout your first run as champion. Would you be looking to return to that same activity level you had with a win over Dricus this Sunday?
I'm not even looking past this Sunday. I'm just looking at this Sunday. Yeah, and after that, I'll deal with things as they come.
I heard you mentioned, there was a bit of an injury when you fought Sean last year. I guess how important was that time off for you just to heal the niggling injuries and things that, with your body you could eventually get right with that time off?
It was really important. You have to. But again, I've always fought with something wrong. Like 2 weeks before the Miami fight, I did my knee. I didn't pull out. It was really bad. I could have pulled out, but I just knew this is an opportunity of a lifetime, and it paid off. So, yeah, sometimes you roll the dice, you hit. Sometimes you get snake eyes. But, yeah, I just had to pull back and just manage my risk better.
Yeah, and with the win over Dricus this Sunday, you'd become only the second three-time UFC champion in history alongside Randy Couture. I guess, do you have any thoughts on that sort of accomplishment?
No, I haven't really thought about it. It's just focus on Dricus and the rest will come.
Thank you.
That's right here. Dricus said in an interview a few days ago, I can't remember it was who, that he needs to be perfect to beat this guy. That was his quote. Does that already show to you that there is some maybe doubt in his mind if he doesn't put on a flawless performance, that he maybe knows he can't win this?
He needs to be perfect. I don't know. We'll see. You have to ask him.
Yeah, I will when he comes in here. I know you said to Oscar yesterday when he kind of broke the news of Dana saying Sean Strickland would get the next title shot, you needed a little time to think about it. I'm just wondering if you formed any thoughts over the past 24 hours. I know you said that you thought the performance was atrocious, so it was exciting to potentially get that back.
Again, I'm different now. I'm not trying to look towards the future. I'm putting everything on this fight. I'm not a guy who needs to fight for the belt because I've never done it before. This is my one dream. I'm just focused on this fight, beat this guy up, and then I'll deal with whatever comes next when it comes.
You mentioned during the 11 months off, you did that soul searching and hope you found the personal happiness, but you mentioned legacy. You thought about what you wanted that to be. Can you share what feelings you had or thoughts towards what you want your legacy to be?
that's for myself.
And just last thing, that 11 months is the longest break you've had since you started combat sports in 2010, which is just insane to think about. That's like a normal break for most UFC champions we see. So for you, like, how much have you kind of evolved during that time, and how much do you think the freshness might affect your performance?
I think you guys will see the best me you've seen yet. I'm the biggest I've ever been, the most muscular I guess I've ever been. I feel faster. I surprise myself sometimes with the speed that I'm hitting with. I'm not really hitting hard, I'm just really sharp. And I feel like a blade in this one. So, yeah, it's been good to refresh myself and reset myself. And now, let's get it.
Israel, just over here, man. Just a couple of quick ones from me. First up, I know you love the saw theme, but I guess when you look at this fight, you know, Dricus is a guy that moves forward, and you're a guy that's known to really like set up some really great traps in that octagon. Are you kind of seeing these kind of parallels between the theme, the movie, and kind of this fight more than ever going into this one?
I didn't really think about Saw too much. The Saw theme is just a fucking track that will get my skin fucking goosebumps every single time. But definitely there's already traps that's been set. There's been many traps that have been set way before this fight was even announced. But yeah, I'm sure they're working hard as well to try and set traps. But yeah, this is the game we play. I like these games, even coach versus coach. I'm sure they like it as well. Let's see who has the better game plan. Let's see who has the better strategy. So yeah, there's traps that have been set, and there's traps that will be set. But then sometimes we just have to fucking fight, and then we're gonna fight this weekend.
Yeah, man, I can't wait. Undertaker was on Logan Paul's podcast and mentioned that he really liked that tribute that you did to him in that walkout. Mm-hmm. Just quickly, if you had to sort of compare a couple of guys on the team to a couple of other wrestlers, we're looking Dan Hooker, probably Stone Cold Steve Austin, and who else would you sort of compare thinking on the Kakai, Huge? Who would Huge be?
Fuck, as the Iron Sheik. Yeah.
Awesome, and that's me.
Sorry, so just one more. We saw the photos of your custom shorts. They might be the dopest ones yet.
Thank you.
Tell me what the inspiration was behind them, and how happy are you that I know you preach, fighter uniqueness and getting to show personality, that you've been able to do some of that now.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. It's good to bring back a little bit of personality. And I think maybe 5 months ago, Hunter told me that was going to be a thing, even before the gold gloves were a thing. So I'm happy I picked those and I designed them and I sent them to him months ago. And then the gold gloves came through. And I wasn't really a fan of them at first, but then I saw them with the shorts. I'm like, you know what, they kind of work together. But I think for instead of the gold gloves, maybe black with the gold trim, with the gold UFC on them, that looks even cooler. The gold gloves they look good with my shorts, but some other fighters, they look kind of shit. And it's not really my problem, but yeah, the lightning is nice. The yellow flash, speed, whatever you want to say it is. We are electric.
Just 2 more questions. Israel, just over here. UFC Fight Week is always busy. However, last time you fought, you had a documentary screening, as well as lots of other things going on that were kind of secondary to the fight. How is it now to not necessarily have those things?
It's good. I don't mind. I can juggle so many things. I have great people around me. Tim Simpson, Ashbel Castro. My father. They always take care of the business side of things. But the buck stops with me. But yeah, it wasn't really. I think it's just again everything. It wasn't just the fight. It was everything around it, like the travel and whatnot. So this time I just try to sit my ass at home after I've done my hiatus and just work. And speaking of the documentary, it'll be on Apple TV in North America, finally, September. So I'm happy for at least the rest of the world to finally start to see this movie. It's been a while, coming. But it's not really it's a sports documentary. But I even like seeing. There's a picture I have of an old lady knitting on a plane and watching it on the flight. And yeah, that speaks volume to the kind of movie it can be. It's not just about fighting. It's about me, myself, and dealing with this lifestyle I got thrusted into.
In that documentary, there's a theme of letting go of anger within yourself. And there's a part where you talk about kind of being worried that when the anger goes, what will be the motivator? when you let go of that and then the next fight doesn't necessarily go your way, what is that feeling, and has anything replaced that anger as the motivator?
It's not the main motivator. Anger is not the main motivator. Anger is an energy source. It's like fire. You can use it to cook for you. You can use it to help you out, but it can burn your house down. It's just learning how to fire bend. And he's talking about, my fire is big. My fire is this. Well, I'm the fucking avatar.
Thank you.
Yeah. One more. This guy.
Thank you so much.
Better be good.
All right.
I'll fucking shuffle you.
I appreciate it. How does it feel to fight in Perth alongside your fellow Kiwis, Dan Hooker and Kai Kara France, and how do you think they're going to go in their fights?
That was all right. That was all right. What do you expect? It's going to be good.
I'll tell them that, Doran.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. When you bleed together in the training, you sweat together in training, it's time to go to war. We're brothers in the trenches. And again, people sometimes, they get it twisted. They think, Israel is just fucking got the entourage like this and that. It's like, nah. These are moments in history that the people who have helped me get ready need to see in real life. So we bring a lot of them with us to experience these moments. It's not just whoever is on our team, the mob that you see us rolling with, they are all integral parts of the team. It's not just there for looks or show. These are all soldiers. When we go to war, we hold the fucking line.
Yeah. And last question. Dana White recently shared that Sean Strickland is going to be getting the winner of you and Dricus after this weekend. How do you feel about that? And do you think he should be in line as opposed to the winner of Rob Whittaker?
You're not listening, are you? You're not. We've already answered that. We talked about that earlier on. All right, that'll be the last one. But yeah, thank you. This was fun. And till next one.
So there we go. Playing a little bit of a joke on a report at the end there, but really, this is a guy he seems to me like he's laser focused. He's laser focused. If there's ever been any question over his focus in terms of any of his past matchups, there certainly is none here. This is a man looking to reclaim his title rather than defend it. And this one means a little bit more to him from a personal standpoint than maybe some of the others. So really looking forward to see how this fight pans out. Adesanya looks like he's filled out. He's muscled up a little bit more for this one, which is probably a good thing, given that he's taking on Du Plessis, who is an absolute tank at 185 pounds. Let's move things on to the co-main event. Really, really fun fight at 125 pounds. Kai Kara France against Steve Erceg. New Zealand versus Australia. Kai Kara France has got twice the number of wins that Erceg has. Erceg is still the man sort of really finding his feet and climbing the ladder, so to speak. But with that title shot already in the bank, having already shared the cage with the champion Alexandra Pantoja, and maybe, just maybe, leaving a little bit out there that had he just pushed a little bit harder in that fight, he could even be sitting here right now as the champ. That's how close he was in a really good performance for a guy that really wasn't expected to be getting a title shot at this point in his UFC career. He wants to get himself straight back in there with another shot. To do that, he's going to have to beat Kai Kara France, who's on a 2-fight losing streak, and he's looking to steady the ship and to re-establish himself as one of the flyweight elite. This should be an absolute cracker of a fight from a technical standpoint. Both guys love to stick and move. Erceg has got good submission skills as well. This one could be a really interesting fight. Let's have a listen to what both men had to say. Let's start off with Kai Kara France.
It's obviously been a while since we've last saw you at a media day. So I guess, the last time you were supposed to fight pulled out with some concussion issues. So physically, and how was camp and how are you feeling ahead of this one?
Yeah, I feel amazing. It's been a great camp. Time away is definitely gave me a lot of clarity. Taking 6 months off contact was probably the best thing I could do. Listening to all the specialists, all the guys there to save you from yourself. I guess fighters and athletes are always going to be, I guess, too tough for their own good and just want to push through. But sometimes it's better to sit with it and get pulled back to give my best. And I want to be looking at the next 5 years, not just the next year. And I feel the best ever. Just allowed me a lot of time to kind of balance all my other responsibilities, being a father, being a husband, and obviously being a UFC fighter. But back in my normal setting now, I've allowed my body to kind of heal that wear and tear of just fight camps back to back, and just mentally refreshed. So I'm back in my normal setting and ready to get back and remind everyone why I'm one of the best flyweights in the world.
Sticking on this before we talk about Steve, I'm just curious, what's it like? Because like when you're out with a leg injury or a ligament injury, like, you know, you can heal that, you can rehab that, but dealing with the brain is something entirely different. So what was it like being on the sidelines with this sort of injury, not really being able to rehab it or anything?
So, yeah, well, for brain injury, obviously, we only have one, so you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can, and that means not pushing too much. So every week, just doing enough, which was at the start just going for walks. That was what I was prescribed by the neurologist, the concussion specialist. And then from there, we could do a little bit more, add a bit more stress or a bit more tension to my routine, doing, all these different balance tests and eye tests. And with the neurologist, it felt like an exam. I had like a 3-hour, exam that I had to do to go through, like puzzles and memory tests and drawing tests. And it's not to see how well you are good at drawing, it's to see how well you are at multitasking. And at the start, my test wasn't actually that good. I was getting like 50% for my age and education and all of that stuff. And then 4 months later or 5 months later, I did that same test, and I was testing at like 98% for my age and my education. So it just goes to show that I was always going to heal. I just had to, give it time. And then that's what you want around you, that kind of confidence and that kind of pathway back to sport. And I'm so lucky I have the Warriors team that I could lean on. That's the team I help coach for wrestling. It's a rugby team in New Zealand, so it's one of our national teams. So pretty lucky to have them as a resource to tap into. Obviously, in rugby, they deal with a lot of head knocks, a lot of concussions, so they've seen it all. So to have that kind of guidance was definitely massive, so really appreciative.
In the States, we hear a lot of these American football players that, when they go through these tests, they realize, like, oh, maybe I trained or played with a concussion. I just didn't know it at the time. Do you think you've gone through camps and fights unknowingly have a concussion?
Oh, 100%. It's just something that I guess you come accustomed to. It's just when it's a bad one, that's really what makes you have to take a step back and say, well, I need to let this do its thing. I can't force it. Every concussion's different. Everyone's gonna. There's no one size fits all. So pretty lucky to still have a career in front of me that. We're back to where we want to be, and that's putting on my best performances and looking at the next 5 years, and just having that balance between family life and training. I think that's been a massive thing, and also having like deload weeks and having more emphasis on recovery, more emphasis on trying to put our best foot forward for the fight night, not doing too much in the actual training camps.
And obviously, looking at your fight on Sunday morning against Steve, wasn't a title contender your last time you fought, and then you fought Pantoja 5 rounds in a hard fight. So did you know who he was before he signed to the UFC, obviously coming from this part of the world, and what do you make of this matchup against him?
Yeah, it's funny. I was here a year ago. I was supposed to fight on the Perth card when Alex fought Islam, and I was injured for that fight against Alex Perez. So I was here as a guest fighter, and the night before the UFC, in Perth, I was at a show called Eternal, and it's a local show. And Mick Maynard was there, the UFC matchmaker, and Steve was the headline. And he ended up picking up Steve for the UFC, and I was there in the crowd watching. So I've seen his rise in the UFC. It's been fast and it's been rapid, but he's made the most of all his opportunities. So, he's definitely done really well, and to get a title fight and be so close to winning, where I thought I actually did enough to win. I've only got good things to say about him. He's a nice guy, and he's talented, and he's going to be a tough challenge. But I've been in this flyweight division for a long time. When at one point the UFC were looking at maybe dissolving this division, and I was out there putting on exciting fights, and I was one of the guys that was making sure this stays around. So it's going to be a cool feeling walking back into my normal setting and challenging the best guys in this division.
Well, also since your last fight, the UFC signed Kaya Sakura. They've let Makaban Mahayev go. Pantoja doesn't have a clear contender yet. So what do you make of the state of the division as a whole right now?
Yeah, it's a funny time for flyweights, especially as contenders, because it's wide open. Anyone can beat anyone, and anyone can get a title shot. So when I told my coach Eugene and my manager Ash, I want to fight on this Perth card, Steve's name came across the table, and straight away we knew this was the fight to take. We want to fight the guys that just fought for the belt, and that's our ticket back to fighting for a world title, is take him out in his hometown, and look, whoever's the champ when it's time to go, that's the clear pathway. But all I'm focused right now is obviously Steve. That's who's in front of me, so it's naive to look past him, and I know that I've been around for a while. That's all my energy is being put into. But yeah, with the state of this flyweight division, there's been a lot of guys that have come through and done really well. Mokaev is a guy that was obviously winning, but this isn't wrestling. This isn't grappling. This isn't doing the bare minimum just to win. This is an entertainment sport. This is the hurt business. If you're not in there to entertain and lay it on the line, people want to see that heart, that courage, that willingness to go all in and get the knockout, or not just a knockout, but go in there and show why you should be a co-headline, not on the prelims. That's why me and Steve are in this position, because that's what we do. We go out there and fight. We don't just talk about it and build it up, and then it's an anti-climax. No one's really looking at it and talking about their fight. It was a kind of lose-lose against him and Manel. So with me and Steve, we're going to go in there. This fight can't not be fireworks, and I'm ready to go in there and take it from him.
And two quick ones unrelated to your fight. I'm sure you heard about the new rule changes going into effect in November about the 12 to 6 elbows will be allowed and the redefining the grounded opponent. I'm curious, did you hear about these, and do you think it's been a long time coming?
Yeah, it's just a part of the sport evolution of the rules and the way the sport's heading. It doesn't really affect too much, but I guess when you're on ground and pound, when you're on the floor and you want to start throwing your elbows, you can just let it rip and go for it. So I think it's going to create more action, and I'm all for it.
Then one final one. I'm sure I know your answer, but how do you see the main event playing out between Israel and Dricus?
Yeah, for this fight camp, it's been intense, and it's also been very, it's definitely brought the best out of Izzy. Seeing him prepare for a guy that he doesn't like, and it's triggering. It's triggering when someone's saying that you're not an African champion, or you're not African born, and knowing Izzy for a long time and moved to New Zealand at a young age. Being in a small town called Rotorua where there's not many Africans, and you've been told that you don't belong in Rotorua in New Zealand because you stick out, and then being told that you don't belong in Africa, you're going for someone's identity, and when you're poking a bear like that, it's only going to bring the best out of Izzy, because this is more than personal. This is tapping into who he is as a person. So that's the energy that is brought into this camp, and we feed off that, me and Dan, and just to be in the trenches with everyone at City Kickboxing. We're all here. There's a lot of us here. We're all in the all over here for a reason, and ready to go to war.
Dan said that Israel's hitting so hard this camp that he's not even bothered sparring with him just because of how bigger and stronger he's been.
Oh, 100%. I'm glad I'm in the flyweight. In the small division at sparring, we split the groups up. So I'm just watching from afar and just, inspired and ready to, get in there and do the three-peat.
Kia ora kai, ke konei.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. He pātai tuatahi, pēhea tō wairoa I te wiki nei. I just wanted to tap into your taha Māori for a little bit.
Yeah.
Listening to your story about, battling concussion, these tests that you've had to do, I can imagine that this would be a spiritual journey for you also. So I just wanted to know, knowing your whānau's journey with te reo Māori, kaupapa Māori, how much tapping into your taha Māori and your whakapapa has perhaps helped you be the best you can be prepared for this weekend.
Oh, kia ora. Thank you for that, Pātai. It definitely makes me more intentional of what I'm trying to do and where I want to be heading. And I guess it allows me to make sense of everything, because this has all happened long before I was here. Tapping into tupuna, my tupuna and my ancestors, it's in my blood. It's in my blood to I guess, go to war and to fight on that battlefield. I'm just that modern day version of it. So, having the reo and the tikanga and the te ao Māori view on how I take on the world, it just allows me to kind of make sense of it. So I guess having kids now and they're on at Kohanga and my wife's at Takura doing a full immersion te reo. We're on the journey together as a whānau, and it's a beautiful thing when you have more perspective on life and just prioritizing what is important, and that's our culture, that's our identity, that's who we are. Me being a fighter, it's me. That's my job, that's my career. But there is life after fighting, and win or lose, I'm not defined by the result. I'm defined by the person that you see behind the gloves. So I'm in a great place, very balanced, very just calm, present, and ready to get in there and do what I love.
Ka pai. Pātai tuarua, there was a conversation that you and I had on UFC on Sky about sometimes in fight week, I think you said all the time, you kind of go inside yourself, and sometimes you don't want to hang out with people and people don't want to hang out with you because that switch gets flicked. I've kind of dubbed that switch mana mode. So I just wanted to know, has mana mode been activated yet?
Yeah, it's definitely a switch that's getting turned on and off all week. And that's just me visualizing what's about to happen, about to come forth on fight day. It's me just, revving the engine, tapping into that place that I need to go when I do step in there and take on the best. But yeah, it's a passage that has to be clear. If it's not clear, then you're going to have trouble kind of going to where you need to go in the fight. So yeah, this week, every day we get a bit closer, more dialed in, more focused, and more than ready to do what we do best. And I channel all of that energy back home, all that support that will be there in the stadium. I know there's a lot of Māori, a lot of Kiwis that live in Perth, so if they're there to support their hometown boy, which is Steve, or support me, it's a win for New Zealand and Australia, and for the flyweight division being on a co-main headline. So yeah, I'm looking forward to everything. I've been visualizing my walkout for the last year of what it's going to be, and channeling all that wairoa that will be in the stadium, and just to go out there and unleash.
Ka pai, pātai whakamutunga. Pātai whakamutunga. You've mentioned that this is great for the Anzacs in Oceania. I know we're here on foreign whenua, we're here in Australia, but it's New Zealand MMA history, it's UFC history, having 3 Kiwi at the top of a pay-per-view ticket. And I'm sorry if that annoys anybody in this room, but kei te pai tēnā, I want to know, what are your, kōrero, your feelings around that? And is that perhaps some kōrero that you've had, perhaps with Eugene, about this responsibility that you all have this weekend?
Yeah, I think it just goes without saying, we know what's expected, that pressure that we have on us, that weight that's on our shoulders, representing our country, Aotearoa, New Zealand, our gym, city kickboxing, our people. But we go towards it. We don't shy away. This is a privilege to be able to do this. And there's a shelf life of how long you can fight for. So we know that we're all getting a bit older, we're all getting a bit wiser, but we're intentional of what we're doing, and we're more than ready for what's to come. So, this is a massive moment for New Zealand, for Aotearoa. We've had so many great sporting moments this year, with the Olympics doing our best ever. Shout out to all the Olympians that represented Aotearoa, New Zealand and Paris. They did awesome. But it's our time to step up and show the world what we have, and our skills and our courage, and channel all that support back home. So I'm loving being in this setting, being in this routine, and being here on Fight Week, just being taking all of it in, and being process driven, just every day doing my routine, and every day we get a bit closer, getting more excited, and yeah, like I said before, ready to get in there and get the job done.
Namahi.
Namahi.
Kai, you mentioned Steve's rapid ascent whilst you've been sidelined dealing with your own issues. What's that been like for you? Has it been kind of frustrating? Is it extra motivating, given the fact that he's had this incredible rise up to the rankings and had a title shot, something that you've kind of yet to achieve yourself, despite being a veteran?
Yeah, it's been cool seeing a guy from the side of the world do so well in my division, and while I've had time away, he's been fighting for world titles in Brazil and came so close. And I think coming into this fight, it's not just the fights that take a bit of wear and tear; it's the build-up, it's the pressure, and I haven't had that. I haven't had that for a year, so I think that's what's going to be different. Is I'm coming in fresh. I'm coming in without that burnout, that fight week where you're in the setting a game, but physically you might be feeling good, but you still have that fatigue that's there mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So I think take a lot of us at the gym at City Kickboxing, me, Dan, and Izzy have taken time away. So now when we're back in there, we're thriving. You can't expect different results by doing the same thing, and I think we've reinvented our system at City Kickboxing. Implemented High Performance Sport New Zealand to help maximise our camps, and tapping into all the different resources that we have back home, and that's been awesome. Cross-coding and feeding off each other and seeing how we can do things better. So I'm in a great place, and I'm ready to get in there.
Do you see this as a genuine title eliminator? Do you think a win here should lock you into the next shot at Alexandra?
Yeah, 100%. There's been fights that haven't really lived up to the hype or the expectations. So this flyweight division, it's all about who can go in there and make a statement, who can be exciting, who can let the UFC and let the world know that you're the next guy. So that's all I'm planning on doing. That's all my energy that I'm putting into is Steve, and he's in front of me. Whatever happens after this, I know there will be a clear passage to that title.
And Dan earlier touched on a little incident at a Warriors game recently with a slightly unruly Eels fan. He said you had to kind of rush him out of there pretty quickly. Can we get your version of events there?
Yeah, Dan's a wild man, and you don't want to heckle him and egg him on, and especially in the crowd. Like he was telling the fan, "You're not that far away. I can still reach you." And he ended up throwing a drink at him, and then Dan took his shoe off, and he said, "I'll throw this as well." And I said, "Bro, we've got sparring tomorrow. We need to go home." And I got him out of there. The Warriors weren't winning as well, so it was okay that we left the game a bit early because we had sparring the next day. But yeah, it's cool to be invited to all those things, but hey, we don't want to ruin it. We want to come back again.
Thanks, bro. Good luck.
Cheers, bro. Thank you.
Just back here.
Yep.
Please forgive me if I use the wrong term and correct me. A teammate of yours, Aaron Toe, is fighting on the Contender Series, and if he is successful, he will be if I'm not mistaken, he will be the first fighter in the UFC with the Taumoko. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, Aaron's one of my teammates, one of my sparring partners, someone that's close to my weight class. So we do a lot of training together. He's someone to definitely watch out for. So just to clear that up, he's got a motorda, so that's a facial tattoo. He's unapologetically Māori. He can't hide it. It's on his face, and he's here to show the world who he is and where he's from. And very, very proud of him to follow our footsteps and go out there and take what he deserves. So we've got 3 guys on the Contender Series. There's Aaron Toe, there's Navajo Sterling, and Cameron Ralston. So it's pretty cool that this is the next wave of UFC fighters coming out of City Kickboxing, and that's always something that we've just needed, an opportunity. Once we've had an opportunity, we've always shown that we belong on the world stage. I remember when I got my shot back in 2018, I know how much it meant to me, so I know how much it means to these guys. So they're here. Aaron's actually here. Fight week, he got in last night. So for him to kind of see, be in the setting and see what's it all about. I think it's going to do wonders for him and only motivate him to go out there and get a contract. So pretty cool that another Māori boy from Aotearoa can shine and that's what it's all about, showing the blueprint of how to do this, and there'll be many more New Zealanders and Māori representing Aotearoa in the UFC.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Cheers, bro. Sweet. Thanks for your time.
So there we are. Nothing but respect from Kai Kara-France heading into this fight with Steve Erceg. Kai understands the assignment here. He's got to go in there, get the win, re-establish himself, and from that point on, he's got a platform to build off as he looks to move himself into position to challenge for that 125-pound title. As for Steve Erceg, he's been there, he's been to the mountaintop and just fallen narrowly short. That frustration will be powering him now, but also the confidence of knowing that he was competitive in that title fight and maybe didn't quite perform to his absolute best. That will also give him confidence heading into this one as he looks to defeat Kai Kara-France and put himself back in the frame for a title shot. Let's see what Astro Boy had to say during Media Day this week.
Obviously, the last time we saw you preparing for your first UFC title shot, I guess, how has life been since then? You don't have to do as much media for this fight week, I'm sure, even though you are the co-main event. But I guess, how's life been and what lessons have you taken away? Not just from the fight, but just that whole build-up and experience towards that.
Honestly, life has been exactly the same. Again, I don't know, I learned a lot of lessons. I got a lot of confidence from the performance. I know it didn't go my way, but I know that I can hang at that level. I know I can go 5 rounds and push the pace. So there's a lot of good things that came out of the fight, even though I didn't get the result I wanted.
And it didn't seem like you took a whole lot of damage in that fight. So I guess how soon after the fight did you hop back into training? Because, you see some of these guys, they lose their title fight. It's not a one-sided loss. They get that itch almost immediately.
Yeah, so it was probably a good thing that we had a holiday around Argentina and that sort of thing planned. So I had to take time off. But, as soon as I was back, so I think it was 2 weeks I was over there, and as soon as I was back in the gym getting ready for whatever the future held at the time.
And of course, once they announced this card, it seems like you were the name everyone assumed would be on this card. So did the UFC tell you, even how far ahead of time did they tell you, we're coming to Perth and you're going to be on this card regardless?
Well, I knew they were coming to Perth, and I don't remember how long before the fight they gave me Kai's name, but I wanted to be on it. They obviously were happy to have me on it, have a Perth boy represent on the card. So as long as I wasn't injured, I was taking the fight, whoever they gave me. So I think, they just threw a name and they knew I was going to say yes.
And what do you make of Kai as an opponent? He's a guy from this part of the world that's kind of the veteran of this division. So I'm sure you watched him before you got to the UFC. And so what are you expecting from him on Sunday morning?
Yeah, he's a very good fighter. He's super explosive, very good takedown defense, and he hits really hard. So I definitely have to mind my P's and Q's, but I just think I'm better at the end of the day, and we're going to find out on Sunday morning.
Have you the approach to this as compared to Pantoja? Because like you said, Kai has, he hits hard, and not everyone has knockout power in this division. Have you had to approach Kai differently than you did for a Pantoja in a 5-round fight?
Not really. I mean, they both throw wide shots more so than anything else. It's just I'm not preparing for a guy who wants to take me down constantly. So I guess more of my camp is focused on the striking element. I'm not delusional. There is a chance, especially if it's not going well for him, that he will try to take me down. So I still need to keep that up and keep improving at it. But a lot of it's focused on the stand-up.
Were you hoping this would be a 5-round co-main event? Because it's lately we've seen there's a title fight and then maybe a co-main event would be 5 rounds.
Yeah, so after going 5 rounds, I definitely want to go 5 again. I think 5 suits me. I think the fact that I was finishing over the top of Pantoja means that I can finish over the top of a lot of people, and I just think 5 suits me.
Are you surprised that you're returning before Pantoja in that fight?
No, not at all. He first of all said that he needed to take some time off, and I like being active. I like fighting. So, yeah, not surprised at all.
Can I get your thoughts on what happened to Muhammad Mahayev? He was a big name in this division, and now he's no longer part of the promotion.
I don't want to kick a man when he's down as much as possible, but yeah, he made some decisions. He obviously wasn't. People didn't make a fan of people, I guess, as not the fans and obviously the people in the company. So I feel bad for what happened to him, but I guess he did it to himself.
Then two quick ones unrelated to your fight, but I'm sure you saw in November they're going to implement those new rules that allow 12 to 6 elbows and redefine grounded opponents. I'm curious, do you like those rules, and do you think it's been a long time coming?
I don't know if I like the rules or not. I kind of do, kind of don't. I want to see how they translate. I'm excited to throw a 12 to 6 elbow at somebody, like climb the tree and throw one, but I don't want to get hit by one so much. So I will see how it works out.
And, can I get your thoughts on the main event between Dricus and Israel?
Yeah, I think Izzy's really good, as everybody knows. I think he's going to hit him. He's going to be able to find a way to put his hands on him to start with, and then I think Dricus is going to keep pushing and then eventually walk onto a really devastating shot. Thank you.
Steve, right here. You and I talked yesterday. You said you kind of have a bucket list. You want to get a fight with a Mexican fighter because you love the culture and everything kind of about that. So where did that start for you? Like, how did you come about, being into the Mexican fight culture?
So, I mean, there's been so many, like Julio Cesar Chavez, Canelo Alvarez, far out, I'm going to butcher his name, the guy that fought Manny Pacquiao, Marquez, yeah. There's been so many great Mexican boxers, and again, they're fighters, and at the end of the day, that's what I like watching. I respect and I love watching technicians as well, but I want to see somebody who's a technician that goes out and wants to brawl with people too. Like that's my favorite thing to watch.
And then how do you think the fight's going to go between Brandon Royval and Tatsuro Taira?
I think Tatsuro Taira has a really good chance of winning this fight. I don't think Royval's takedown defense and overall jiu-jitsu will be able to stop Taira. I don't necessarily think he'll finish him, but I just think he'll be able to take him down and control where the fight gets played out.
What do you think the best meme you've gotten so far has been? Because I think there was one, it was a 305, and it was like a cast of The Office with all the fighters on it. What do you think the best one you've gotten is?
I do honestly really like the one of Al Pacino sitting in front with the Botafogo out the back, and I think that's a pretty funny one. I like that one.
Steve, you go back to last year, UFC 284. You're actually fighting at Eternal MMA the night before, knowing that you probably should have been on that UFC card. Fast forward to now, you're fighting in the co-main event in front of the Perth home crowd. Is something that you always wanted. How's that build-up been for you?
Yeah, it's sort of weird how quickly you get used to you're fighting away. Like this whole week sort of felt kind of foreign. I'm in my own house. I'm doing all the things I normally do when I'm training, but I'm fighting this week. So it's kind of odd that was normal just over a year ago and now it's foreign. But yeah, I'm very excited. Got all my family, friends and people that have supported me coming along to the fight. And I can't wait to put on a great performance for them.
As MMA fans, we always knew who you were. We always knew that you were destined to be where you are now. But how has your life changed? Obviously, being in the limelight. We saw you with the local AFL team with West Coast Eagles getting presented a jumper. I mean, how you're still the same person, but how's everything else changed for you in a short amount of time?
So mostly things haven't changed, but yeah, every now and then I get to do something really cool like that. I get to meet the Eagles. I got to meet the Wallabies the other day. I get to have these experiences that not everybody gets to have and kids dream about. But every other time of the day is the same boring life I had before. I go to training in the morning. I'm there basically all day, and then I go home and go to bed. So, yeah.
And we had Jack Della Maddalena last year, obviously first Perth fighter. You're obviously the second, but again, you've got the co-main event, obviously a top billing. So it's that must be obviously huge, exciting for you. But the amount of fighters from Perth coming out and doing well, and obviously we got 3 guys from Perth fighting on the Dana White Contender Series coming up. I mean, it's huge for MMA in Perth, isn't it?
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, for a long time, growing up myself, I got told I need to go to the US. If I want to be any good, I got to go to this place and that place, and you can't do it from here. It's not big enough. So the fact that, you've had Jack Della, you've had me doing what we're doing, and now you have the younger guys, Dricus, Cody, Quillen coming up from Perth as well. It just shows anybody that doesn't matter where you're from, you can make it happen if you really want it to happen.
And speaking of history, again, aside from probably staying in combat sports, we've got another young Perth fighter, Alex Winwood, fighting for a world title in only his 5th professional fight on September 7. I saw you caught up with him during the week at the Welcome to Country. What do you think of Alex Winwood and a message for him as he tries to break Jeff Fennick's record of becoming the fastest Australian to win a world title?
Yeah, obviously he's a great talent. I've been at, I think I've only been at one of his fights live once, and he's very technically good, which you have to be if you want to be fighting for a world title, right? So he's a very good fighter, and I think he can do it. I think he's a great fighter, and I wish him the best of luck.
All the best to you as well, Steve. Astro Boy.
Steve, just down here. A big thing that you've spoken about in the past is opponents' toughness and being a tough individual. Where do you rate Kai Kara-France's toughness?
Yeah, he's very tough. I'm trying to remember the fight he fought. Doesn't matter who he fought. Anyway, but he's he was getting choked and he couldn't get the guy off his back, but even though he's deep in the choke, he was fighting the whole time. He didn't give up. He's a tough guy. I'm just hoping he's not as tough as I am.
Your last fight before you joined the UFC was here in the hometown, but now obviously a much bigger stage. Is family coming out to see you?
Yep.
How is that for you? You're fighting, I suppose technically not the biggest fight of the career, but still a very big fight at home. How is that to have the family around?
Yeah, it's good. It's very good. I've been very lucky, though, in the fact that my family have travelled to Brazil and Vegas or New York, all that sort of stuff. They've always sort of been around, so I'm very blessed that way, and I get that same thing, just they don't have to travel now.
I feel like Perth really embraces its sporting heroes and legends. I was at the Perth Museum the other day. There's a lot of Perth sports memorabilia. Do you think we could get something of you in there?
I think I need to do a lot more in the sport before that's even a twinkle in my eye. So, that would be awesome, but I've got a lot more to do.
Thank you.
One more in the front right here. Just purely out of curiosity, because I assume I'm the only Mexican here.
Yep.
There's debate between Canelo and Chavez Sr. as the best Mexican boxer. I'm curious where you stand on that.
Chavez Sr. for sure. Yeah.
Steve over here, mate.
Canelo is amazing, though. I'm not taking it away, but Chavez was
What do you
amazing.
make? People are saying he's ducking opponents now, because he doesn't want to fight Crawford, doesn't want to fight Benavidez.
I doubt that's true. He's gone up and fought way above his own weight against the toughest guys in the world. So I can't imagine he's ducking anybody. But they said the same thing about Floyd. He fought all the best guys for a long time, and then at the end of the career, he didn't necessarily fight the people they all wanted him to fight. But to say that he's ducking people, I think is also crazy.
Steve, you spoke yesterday about you think you're probably 2 wins away from being back in that title contention. Have you outlined a path back there yet after what was a disappointing earlier fight this year, I suppose? Well, the result was disappointing.
I have a rough guide. Obviously, Kai's first on the list, and then Amir Albazi and, I don't know, Moreno, Royval, somebody like that, I think would be the guys.
And it's a bit of a race between you and Jack to be the first champion at this stage. Is the goal, you're the co-main event, is the goal to be the headline act and defending a title in Perth?
Yeah, of course. That's whether it's being the main event or not, my goal is to be on Perth as a title holder. I got an opportunity to obviously fight for a title, and if I had won that and came here, I would have been the co-main event still. Just I would have had a title, and that would have been very exciting.
So there we go, Steve Erceg. Hard not to like the man, right? Just a down to earth, very affable sort of chap. Put him in the cage to fight, and he just happens to be one of the best flyweights on the planet. That's going to be an absolutely brilliant co-main event. Kai Kara-France versus Steve Erceg. Winner of that is maybe one fight away, or maybe even next in line for a shot at the undisputed flyweight title held by Alexandra Pantoja. So we'll see how that one pans out. But really, despite the fact we've got so many good fights on this card, it is all about that main event. Dricus Du Plessis, Israel Adesanya. A grudge match? Well, not if you talk to Dricus, but it seems to be so if you're Israel Adesanya. What we do know is that when this fight is over, we will have an African UFC middleweight champion. But will it be South Africa celebrating, or will it be Nigeria? I'm looking forward to finding out on fight night. Make sure you check it out yourself, and I'll speak to you in a week's time. Don't forget, you can follow us on the socials. I'm at Simon Head Sport on Instagram, Threads, and X. You can get RDX Sports on X and RDX_sports on Instagram. Go to rdxsports.com for all of your combat sports gear needs, and check out our combat sports coverage at blogs.rdxsports.com. That's all we've got time for this week as we build up to UFC 305 this weekend. Enjoy the fights, and I'll speak to you soon.